It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Washington Nationals. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the 3-game series with the Washington Nationals, who have beaten the Dodgers 3 out of 4 times already this year. On the mound for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw with a record of 16-3. Remember, he was the first 16-game winner in the league. Kershaw is 1-0 against the Washington Nationals this year, and he is 6-2 lifetime. On the mound for Washington, a ball club that is playing very, very well. Since the 27th of June, their record is 37-20. And they will send a big man out to the mound by the name of Doug Fister. He's from Merced, California, went to school at Fresno State. He is 6'8", and he can pitch. His record is 12-5. In his 20 starts, Washington has won 14 of those 20. He's never pitched against the Dodgers, but against the National League West, he is 4-2. So it's the Dodgers and Washington, Game 2. Remember, tomorrow it's a 12-10 game, Jordan Zimmerman against Carlos Frias. We'll get to the ball game and a whole lot more right after this.
And they have the perfect man on the hill to get the job done. Clayton Kershaw going for his league-leading 17th win of the 2014 season in Game 2 against the Nationals. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo. Behind Clayton Kershaw in center field, it will not be Yasiel Puig, who has been struggling mightily at the plate. Instead, it is the newest center fielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Jock Peterson, who made his major league debut yesterday as a pinch hitter, will be in the starting lineup tonight. Of course, Los Angeles Dodgers fans remember Jock Peterson from spring training, where he swung a hot bat. 2 home runs. You can see them here, but he had a tremendous year in AAA. A .303 average, 33 home runs, and 79 RBIs. Jock Peterson getting into the game last night in the bottom of the 9th inning as a pinch hitter facing Nationals closer Rafael Soriano. A big moment for Jock Peterson as well as for the Los Angeles Dodgers fan base. Tonight he is in the starting lineup. There is his helmet. His name is in the lineup card, and he will be behind Clayton Kershaw tonight in center field. After the break, Vince Scully on the call.
To you, wherever you may be, Jock Peterson making his major league debut in a starting role, heading towards center field. The Dodgers hoping to get a little extra emotional lift by the rookie who had such an amazing year at Albuquerque. It will be interesting to see this really his first major step. We did see him strike out last night, but this now is the first game. Matt Williams knows what it's like to be a rookie and make his first major league start. We'll take a look at the names now on Matt's lineup card for the visiting Washington Nationals. They will be starting off with Anthony Rendon, followed by Asdrubal Cabrera at second base. Jason Worth, who homered in his first appearance here in a while last night, is in right field. Ian Desmond at short. Wilson Ramos behind the plate. Bryce Harper in center field. Scott Hairston will be in left field. Kevin Franzen at first base. And big Doug Fister on the mound. For the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, having seen the Dodgers lose 2 out of 3 in San Diego and then lose again last night, the Dodgers, even though they might feel a little down, they have to be inspired by the fact they're in the 5th inning in Colorado, and the Rockies are leading the Giants 6-0. Yasmero Petit, you may remember, recently replaced Tim Lincecum in the starting role, but he's been cuffed around early, allowing 3 doubles, a triple, and a home run, and a 6-0 Rockies lead.
Number 22, Clayton Kershaw.
So Clayton Kershaw making his way to the mound. The Dodgers anxiously hoping that he can get them back on track. And, of course, among others, Yasiel Puig would like to get back on track as well. And instead, at least for tonight, he sees the center fielder, maybe of the future. Pretty hard to talk about future without including Puig. but maybe they'll be in that lineup together for many years to come. It waits to be seen. Anthony Rendon will start it off, hitting .280, 18 home runs, 73 runs batted in. Fine all-around ball player. They are exceptionally happy with him. The right-hand hitter takes a pitch up and in for ball one. 1-0 the count to Anthony Rendon. Rendon out of Houston, Texas, went to Rice. The next pitch to him is a fastball high. 2 balls and no strikes. Clayton Kershaw has faced Washington once this year. Rendon in that game has gone 2 for 6 against him. So Clayton ready in the 2-0 pitch. Anthony takes another pitch off, and that's 3-0 the count. Lovely evening, temperature 76 degrees. Last night it was 83 at the same time, so the temperature cooling off a little bit. The 3-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike, and the count 3-1. Rendon, a fine all-around athlete. Not only baseball, he was also a basketball player and ran track in high school. The 3-1 pitch on the way, swung on, fouled away, off to the right, out of play, and the count 3-2. We mentioned it last night because it is worthy to note. 4 years ago, Baseball America's College Player of the Year was an underclassman. In the 30-year history of the award, that's happened only 3 previous times, to Robin Ventura, John Olerud, and Mark Teixeira. And then it happened to Rendon. A one-hopper to Uribe. Juan fires a dart, almost threw it away. Very dangerous play because Adrian Gonzalez, and following the flight of the ball, that just about brought him right into the charging Rendon going down the line. Talking about defense or lack thereof, Gonzalez and Gordon, Ramirez, Uribe, Crawford in left, Jock Peterson making his first major league start in center, Matt Kemp in right, A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and Clayton Kershaw on the mound. We have seen a lot of Peterson defensively in spring training, and he can really go and get them. So he figures to be a solid defensive player, but like all of them, it depends on what he does with the bat. Pop fly, Gordon backs out, makes the catch. Well, Cabrera didn't hang around very long. And we have 2 down in the first inning, and Jason Worth coming up. Worth, by the way, against Clayton Kershaw, is not only hitting .333, he has 2 home runs against Clayton. For the year, 16 home runs, 76 runs batted in for Jason. Played a couple of years with the Dodgers, played hard, and that really resulted in a short career here. Crashed into the wall in Colorado, chasing a long base hit, and then was hit on the hand, suffered a broken hand, first at bat in spring training. Jason takes the pitch, and it's a little low. 1 ball and no strikes to Jason Worth. Jason with the Dodgers in 0-4 and 5. Takes a look at the next pitch, and that finds the mark, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Worth so far has had 17 game-winning RBIs, so he's a clutch hitter. 1-1 pitch on the way. Off-speed breaking ball, but it didn't break. That's a key to Kershaw. It is rare that he gets that pitch over right away. It takes him an inning or 2. Once he starts throwing it, then he gets tougher and tougher. 2-1 pitch, fastball in the dirt, and the count 3-1. So Jason Worth with the power. He also runs very well. Remember, he has 9 stolen bases. He's 9 for 9. And what a mixture last night. Washington showed the Dodgers 4 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Now the 3-1 pitch on the way. Kershaw's pitch at the knees for a strike, and that's as hard as he's thrown tonight. That was a 96 fastball down. So 3-2, 2 down. No score, just starting. Kershaw ready in the 3-2 pitch on the way. Worth takes in the dirt, ball 4. So a 2-out walk to Jason, and the batter will be Ian Desmond. the shortstop, and a centerpiece certainly in the offense. Ian Desmond, 22 home runs and 81 runs batted in. Desmond, the veteran, the longest tenure on the club, and a good ball player. A veteran who's been through the wars. Checking in now, right-hand batter. Worth standing at first. Desmond waiting. Originally an Expo back in 2004, and he takes a strike, and the count 0-1. 29 years old come the end of September. He's from Sarasota and still lives there. Worth inching off the bag at first. Kershaw has to keep an eye on him. Now Clayton out of a stretch, just staring over at Worth. And the strike one pitch is swung on and fouled off, and the count 0-2. Desmond, in looking at his numbers, he does not have a big batting average, .251. One problem, he does have trouble making contact. 22 home runs, but he has struck out 157 times. So Desmond waiting. Kershaw set, looks at Worth, goes into that full stretch, and the strike two pitch on the way, high and away for ball one. The 157 strikeouts, that would be the most in Desmond's career. 3 years ago, he struck out 139. Last year, 145. And hitting behind Desmond is the catcher Ramos. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kershaw delivers. There's the slow curveball. That's the pitch. It usually takes him a little while to throw that for a strike, and it was there. So, no runs, no hits, a walk, and that big slow curveball for strike 3. And at the end of half an inning, Washington nothing, Dodgers coming up. In the first inning, Clayton Kershaw picks up a strikeout. Now we can take a look at the Dodger lineup and see how that will develop. D. Gordon leading off at second base, and Hanley Ramirez at short, Adrian Gonzalez at first, and Matt Kemp in right field. Carl Crawford in left, Juan Uribe at third. Young Jock Peterson making his major league debut in a starting role. He's in center. A.J. Ellis the catcher, Clayton Kershaw the pitcher. On the mound, Doug Fister. He is 6 feet 8 inches tall, 200-pounder from Merced. Doug is 30 years old, went to school at Fresno State, had some fine years with the Detroit Tigers. And the first pitch a little low to Gordon. 1 ball and no strikes. You know that Gordon steals a lot of bases. You might be interested to know that with Fister pitching, there has been only 1 attempt to steal a base. The pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-1. How did the base stealer make out? He was caught. So when you look at Pfister at 6'8", you think, well, he'd be vulnerable to the running game. He is not. The next pitch to Gordon in for a strike, and the count 1-2. He is not in one of those fellas to waste a lot of time. He comes right back with strike 3 called, and down goes Gordon. So just like that, we have 1 out in the first inning, and the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. One of the words about Doug Pfister is you can't slow him down. He just gets the ball, gets up on the mound, and he's ready to pitch. His father was a fire captain and eventually a police officer, and his dad played football at Fresno State. So maybe he picked up that hurry-up work ethic from a fireman and policeman hurrying to get the job done. That's his mental frame as he looks in to get a sign from Wilson Ramos. And the first pitch to Hanley Ramirez in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Pfister, originally drafted by the Mariners. If you're up there looking at him as he works a fastball a little low, 1-1. He's a sinker slider pitcher. He has a curveball and a cutter, which he would throw to left-handers, and a changeup. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. The next pitch coming up, Hanley hits a one-hopper, speared nicely by Kevin Franzen, and takes it to the bag. So Ramirez losing an extra base hit. Let's take a look at Washington defensively. Franzen at first, then Cabrera, Desmond, and Rendon. Hairston, Harper, and Worth in the outfield. Ramos behind the plate handling Pfister. 2 down. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. 19 home runs, 91 RBI, so he's had 90 or more 8 straight years. But in order for Adrian to produce, he's got to get some men on base. And the top of the Dodger order has gone quiet. The first pitch to Adrian, low, ball 1, 1-0. 2 out, first inning, no score. Game 2 of the 3-game series. An important series, certainly, because a lot of people think these two teams will be facing each other in the postseason. Off-speed pitch at 90 with that big elongated delivery. It's a totally different style in Clayton Kershaw. 2 balls and no strikes. Back with a fastball, waved at and missed. 2-1 the count. Again, with Pfister, you're not going to see somebody throwing 95 and 96. Basically, right around 90. Takes a breather only because Gonzalez backed out. Now Doug says no. Now he's ready. 2-1 pitch is up and away. And that runs the count. 3 balls and 1 strike. When you look at Doug Pfister's career, September has been a very good month for him. In his career, 14-10. 3-1 pitch, and he runs that inside. That might have been the cutter. So ball 4 to Adrian Gonzalez, and the batter will be Matt Kemp. Washington has won the 14 of the 20 starts that Pfister has made. We have never seen him, but he is 4-2 against Western Division teams. Another thing about Pfister, as Kemp makes his way up with a .281 batting average, 17 home runs, 66 RBIs, and a 9-game hitting streak. Pfister can win on the road. He's won 6 at home, 6 on the road. Pitch to Matt Kemp. First ball swinging. Fly ball to shallow center. Bryce Harper on the run. Puts it away. And the Dodgers go very quickly in the first inning. No runs, no hits. A walk and a man left. And at the end of an inning, no score. Years old. She's sitting quietly behind the screen wearing a Dodger cap. A few minutes ago she went to the mound and got an ovation from the crowd here at Dodger Stadium. You may remember her. She knocked them dead in the Little League World Series, Monet Davis, and she threw a strike to Drew Butera to get the ball game started. And she really got a wonderful reception here. The 13-year-old from Chicago. Great to have her here, and it was a pleasure to watch her make that pitch. Second inning, no score in the ball game. It'll be Ramos, Harper, and Hairston. And Kershaw ready and delivers, and the first pitch is banged over the head of a leaping D. Gordon for a base hit into right center. So Wilson Ramos didn't hang around and singles to right center, and the batter will be Bryce Harper. Ramos, the catcher, was hitting .280. He does not have a stolen base. Ramos could very well go with Harper. Interesting thing, and of course I don't believe in jinxes, and I don't think you do either if you're serious about it. But anytime a left-hander comes up against Clayton Kershaw, it is really worth noting. Tell you why. Kershaw out of a stretch, fastball away, ball one. So far, Clayton has gone the entire year without allowing either a home run or an RBI to a left-handed batter. That's rather startling. So he's being put to the test right now. Clayton set, looks over at first at Ramos. Now the 1-0 pitch, fastball, golfed at and missed. And the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Interesting that Bryce Harper is here. When Jock Peterson came in, Harper certainly knows all about the glitter, all about the pomp and circumstance, and he can understand the nervousness or whatever that Jock Peterson is going through. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Harper, a big swing and a miss. And the count 1-2. Of course, Harper was hitting third in the Washington lineup when he was 20 years old. And that made a lot of news, and it also put a lot of pressure on him. Matt Williams acknowledging he's a fine hitter, but he has him down in the lineup now. Bryce from Las Vegas went to the College of Southern Nevada, holds up on a high pitch, and the count 2-2. Waiting on deck, hitting behind Harper, is Scott Hairston, brother of Jerry, who is doing such a great job on Sportsnet LA. Harper waiting, and the 2-2 pitch coming up. Kershaw very deliberate, comes back to his hitter, and it's popped up on the left side. Ramirez says he will take care of it, and does just that. So Ramos holding at first. Harper pops it up, and Scott Hairston will be coming up. By the way, in talking to Monet Davis, and we were thinking about the team that she faced from Chicago. She's from outside of Philadelphia, but wherever she is, she's got a heart for baseball, and it was great to see her. Scott Hairston checking in, and of course the name Hairston means a great deal. Right-hand batter. Scotty, the son of former big leaguer Jerry Hairston. His brother Jerry had a great career and is now working for the Dodger telecast. And the pitch to Scott in for a strike. 34 years old, one of 5 Hairstons to play. Sam, Jerry Sr., Jr., Johnny, and Scott. Originally a 3rd-round pick by the Diamondbacks back in 2001. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and off speed and high, a changeup. 1 ball and 1 strike. Hairston, as he stands in there at 234, 1 home run, 7 runs batted in. He's only played 50 games. Last night, Denard Span played center field, but he didn't play against Kershaw tonight. A little flare, and Gonzalez will make the catch for the 2nd out. Ramos holding at first, and Kevin Franzen will be coming up. So Span sits down. Harper, who played left, moves over to center, and that gives Scott Hairston a chance to play left field. So Kevin Frandsen, we saw Kevin come in the game as a pinch hitter. Hit into a fielder's choice. It resulted in Rendon cut down at the plate. Kevin at one time with the Giants, also played for the Angels. Right hand batter waiting. Kershaw very deliberate out of the plate, and a big chopper foul outside of third. No balls and one strike to Kevin Frandsen. Kevin signed with the Giants out of San Jose State back in 2004. That was kind of comfortable for him. He's from up north, Los Gatos, and lives now in San Jose. An even 6, 185, 32 years old. Strike one pitch on the way. Kershaw works it away. Fastball and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. We have two down, top of the second inning. Ramos, who singled at first base, and no score. Dodgers in Washington. Washington has beaten the Dodgers 3 of 4 so far this year. 1-1 pitch on the way. Kershaw works it, and it's a high chopper to third. Picked nicely at the bag by Uribe to throw him out. Nice play by Juan. That ball could have been a problem right at the bag at third. So no runs, one hit, a man left. Coming up, Jock Peterson. He'll be batting third in the bottom of the second inning. No score. Because now you're not only thinking of division leaders, you're thinking about the postseason. So right now, Washington is leading in the East. The Dodgers are leading in the West. And in the Central, it would be St. Louis leading by 1 against Milwaukee. So you're not only looking at division leaders, you're also starting to think about the wild card. And as of right now, San Francisco and Milwaukee are tied in the wild card. And remember, 2 wild card teams this year. Carl Crawford fouls the first pitch away, and the count 0-1. Bottom of the second inning. We can duck in the fact Colorado leading the Giants 7-2. That's top of the 6th inning. Buster Posey, who's been red hot, has homered for the Giants' second run. Ground ball to the right side. Cabrera is up with it, makes the play. Though Crawford taps away, and we have 1 down in the second inning. That'll bring up Juan Uribe. So Pfister has faced 5 men, walked 1, and waiting now for Uribe, hitting .297, 6 home runs, 39 runs batted in. just off the DL and coming back with a vengeance. So Juan waiting at the plate. Pfister looks in to get a sign. And his first pitch a little low, ball one, 1-0. Waiting on deck with a great deal of anticipation from the crowd would be the baby-faced Jock Peterson. 2 balls and no strikes to Juan Uribe. We were talking about Doug Pfister and his background. Father having been a fireman and a policeman, and Uribe check swing foul. He also has a brother, Jake, who is a hero coming, when you think about it, from a long line of heroes. Jake is an emergency medical technician. So that's quite a family. Here's the 2-1 pitch on the way. That's low and away, ball 3. So 3-1 to count. Pfister right back ready to come after you. The 3-1 pitch is swung on, popped up. It'll be Franzen across the line into foul ground, making the catch. And we have 2 down here in the second inning. You wonder about why Pfister pitches in such a hurry. He does not want the hitter to get comfortable. So he gets the ball and he goes right back after him. So here's young Jock Peterson from Palo Alto against a big, tall, 6'8" right-hander from Merced. Jock, as he stands in at the plate, just turned 22, 6'1", about 185 to 190, and the Dodgers made him a pick, an 11th round pick out of high school. So Jock checks in. Fisher ready in the first pitch. Fastball off the plate, ball 1. One little consolation with all that pressure last night, he went 3-2. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way, and that runs inside, the little cutter. 2-0 the count. Peterson 3-2 last night, had to be looking for that AAA fastball, and he got a major league curve. Swings and fouls off a fastball, and the count 2-1. So by fouling off the ball, at least that slows Pfister down. Looking at the Dodgers, watching Crawford, Puig. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way, inside on the corner, and the count 2-2. Peterson had backed off. Plate umpire Ted Barrett is the crew chief, so you have a kid hitter and an umpire of 18 years behind the plate. 2-2 pitch on the way is swung on, little pop fly into center. It's gonna drop. So Jock Peterson gets his first major league hit. Little group single to center, and Yasiel Puig leading the cheers. That's nice to see. Washington gets the ball. He'll give it to Davey Lopes. He'll roll it back. Kevin Franzen congratulates a somewhat embarrassed Peterson. He'll take it. Fly ball single, because throughout his career he's going to hit some line drives that are going to be caught. So the base hit, and it was great to see Puig leading the cheers. 2-out single, and that'll bring up A.J. Ellis. So Peterson 1 for 2 in his big league career. Pfister ready, and the first pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Jock Peterson in AAA not only had 30 home runs, he also had 30 stolen bases. The pitch to A.J. is fouled away. So Peterson at first, 2 out, bottom of the second, no score. Dodgers in Washington. And a reminder tomorrow, the final game of the series at 12:10, Carlos Frias and Jordan Zimmerman. Pfister at the belt. Here he comes, and it is fouled away again. So no balls and 2 strikes to A.J. Ellis. Each side with a base hit. Ramos, the catcher, singled, opening up the second. Peterson of the Dodgers singles with 2 out in the second inning. Throw over to first. Peterson short lead, back on the bag. it would be rare that you would see Peterson go with the number 8 hitter and then the pitcher to follow. But you never know. Just when you don't expect it, that's when they pull the trigger. Of course, Kershaw is not a bad hitting pitcher anyway. No balls and 2 strikes. And the next one, a slow roller to shortstop. Desmond barehead pickup, can't make the play as the ball flies out of his hands. So Ellis is aboard, and there'll be runners at first and second with 2 outs, and the batter will be Clayton Kershaw. So we take another look. Little roller. First, it looked like Rendon was going to go, but then he let the shortstop Desmond, and as soon as he picked it up, it flew out of his hand. It will go as a base hit. 2 on, 2 out, second inning, no score. Clayton Kershaw trying to help himself now. 160 with 2 RBIs. Fists one that's caught at third by Rendon. So Clayton jammed and loops out the third. No runs, 2 hits, all smiles. Got Peterson and everybody in the dugout giving him a happy welcome back in. And Doug Fister. If you go back to May the 17th, that's the worst game in Kershaw's career. He gave up 7 runs in less than 2 innings. After that, he has made 18 starts, and over that brilliant time, he is 14-2, an earned run average 1.2, and the strikeout to walk ratio is a phenomenal 8-1. The Kershaw, who means so much to the Dodgers, his name bandied about now not only for Cy Young but most valuable player. Well, 3rd inning, no score, and Doug Fister with that big strike zone stands in at 6 feet 8. Doug looks at a strike and the count 0-1. Fister hitting less than 100. That translates into 3 hits. And the left-hand batter has a look, and that's down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball, golfed at and missed. Outfield very shallow and shaded to left. Peterson, I'm sure, checking the dugout as each hitter comes up. The 1-2 pitch is fouled back. So still 2-2. Fister was quite surprised, I'm sure a lot of fans were, when Detroit traded him to the Nationals. He had won 14 games last year. He was 14-9. 1-2 pitch. Pfister tries to time a slow breaking ball. Got a little of it. So Doug's still there. 1-2 the count. So Pfister loosening up, taking a lot of hard swings. Now getting back in. Koufax was here yesterday. Had a chance to visit with some of us. Happy to say Sandy is in great shape. And of course, Kershaw and Koufax, their names are linked together for sure. Sandy has great respect for Clayton and vice versa. 1-2 strikes the count. Kershaw comes back and it's fouled away again. So it is a pitcher, a 6'8" pitcher hitting less than 100, who is fouling off everything coming up to the plate. So it's a 7-pitch at bat for him right now. And a 1-2 strike pitch. Kershaw into the windup. Fastball got him swinging. Though it took a while, but that'll do it for Pfister. Second strikeout for Clayton. And with one away, Anthony Rendon coming up. In the top of the 6th inning in Colorado, Andrew Susac has just hit a 2-run home run. Giants are still hitting in the top of the 6th. Colorado 7 and the Giants 4. Remember yesterday the Giants blew a 7-2 lead and lost 10-9. Rendon grounded out in the first inning. Right-hand hitting third baseman. Swings, ground ball to Uribe. Juan straightens up, fires it over in time. So the 2 third basemen playing Pepper.
Second baseman, number 3, Asdrubal Cabrera.
Asdrubal Cabrera, the second baseman, coming up. Washington had Worth walk in the first inning and Ramos single leading off the second. The Dodgers have had Gonzalez walk in the first, and both Peterson and Ellis get base hits, but nothing developed. So here's Cabrera. Cabrera hitting .240. Takes low at the ankles for ball 1. 1-0 the count. Asdrubal is from Puerto La Cruz in Venezuela. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, chases one in the dirt. 1-1 strike. Cabrera says, I don't remember it, but his parents say he was switch hitting when he was 3 years old. He's 29 years old come the middle of November. 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's taken low. 2-1 the count. Kershaw gunning for his 17th win. He is 16-3. 1-0 this year against Washington. 6-2 lifetime. 2-1 pitch on the way. That's a look for a low, ball 3. 3-1. Waiting on deck, trouble, Jason Worth. Kershaw looking in. Bryce Harper looking on. The next pitch fouled away. 3-2 the count to Cabrera. The Washington Nationals, once upon a time the Montreal Expos. Montreal had the Expos in 1969, had them through 2004, and then the franchise moved to Washington and became the Nationals. The old Washington club was named the Senators. 3-2 pitch, swung on and foul back. So Tim Wallach, who played in Montreal alongside of Don Mattingly, seeing Kershaw forced to make a lot of pitches. He's made 44 pitches because of a lot of foul balls. Clayton looks in. 3-2 the count to Cabrera. Clayton comes and a check swing on no swing for ball 4. Pitch was up. Cabrera held back. They checked with Paul Schreiber, the first base umpire. So that would be the second walk given up by Clayton Kershaw. And now Jason Worth. Watching from overhead, the battle is to keep that bat back from going out beyond the plate. So Cabrera wins that one. And Jason Worth, who walked in the first inning, checking in. Worth, a fine hitter, excellent outfielder, steals a lot of bases. It's a great combination. Jason waiting, and Kershaw's first pitch in for a strike. As we mentioned, the first time he came up, Worth has not found Kershaw that much of a problem. He's hitting .333 against him, 9 hits, 2 home runs. So 2 out, Cabrera at first, no score, top of the third. Worth hitting about .339 against left-hand pitching. And a throw to first. Cabrera back on the bag. Cabrera does not have a stolen base. 3 men do the running. Ian Desmond is one of them. Anthony Rendon is another. And Denard Span the third. Breaking ball, and that misses. So 1 ball and 1 strike. Jason Worth out of Springfield, Illinois. 6'5", working up against Clayton Kershaw, who's 6'3". 1 ball and 1 strike. Kershaw back, and it's a line drive, a leaping backhand catch by Hanley Ramirez. So Jason Worth losing a base hit. Hanley Ramirez going up the ladder to reach up and backhand it and take the hit away. No runs, no hits, a walk and a man left at the end of 2.5. Checking in to get the inning going. A reminder, Sunday, September 7th, the Arizona Diamondbacks will be here, and that'll be A.J. Bobblehead Day. For tickets, more information, visit Dodgers.com/bobbleheads. 1 ball and no strikes, the count to Gordon. Struck out in the first inning. Fister ready and delivers. Pitch in for a strike. D showed bunt. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count. No runs, 1 hit for Washington. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Gordon sprays 1 foul off to the left. 1-2 to D. Gordon is struggling. They all struggle. It is such a long year. Fatigue, daily knocks take a lot of the energy away. The 1-2 pitch on the way, fouled off. And of course, for D. Gordon, anything but a big man, maybe 170 pounds when the season started. Not quite sure how he would check in now. So Gordon back up and waiting. His struggle now has reached 0 for 15, and he lifts a fly ball into left center. Harper has to go back to the track, reaches up and makes the play. So D. Gordon, a long fly ball out to deep left center field, one away.
Shortstop number 13.
You may remember last year when Bryce Harper played here, he played right field, and he ran into the wires covering the scoreboard in right field, suffered a severe facial cut. Yeah, that can be dangerous, especially if you're running full tilt. So one away, and a nice play by Bryce Harper, and the batter is Hanley Ramirez, who promptly hits a one-hopper to short. Ian Desmond stays with it and takes care of him. So 2 balls well hit, but both for outs. And the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez, who drew a walk in the first inning. Adrian is the Dodger power plant. The toughest spot for him, of course, is right now to come up with the bases empty. His style is to drive them in. So Pfister, who's made 20 starts, and Washington has won 14 of them, gets the first pitch in for a strike. 0-1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Another thing about Pfister, his lowest earned run average is the first 3 innings. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and that's taken low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. This year, Pfister's earned run average in the first 3 innings, 1.8. Doug looking down from the 10-inch mound. The 1-1 pitch swung on and missed. 1-2. Another thing Pfister has done very well, he will win following a Washington loss. He's had 7 victories to prevent any big slide. Gonzalez waiting in the 1-2 pitch, swung on and foul back. Still 1-2. So Gonzalez waiting, 2 out, bases empty. No score, bottom of the 3rd. Pfister looks down. The 1-2 pitch on the way, on the hands, fouled away off to the left, out of play. So Doug Pfister facing the Dodgers. No score in the 3rd inning. Pfister has won 6 on the road. He's also won 6 at home, and his earned run average at home is 2.1. On the road, 2.9. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Adrian punches it on the ground back at third. Rendon has to go back to get it and then gun it to first in time for the out. So the Dodgers go 1-2-3, and at the end of 3, no score. night in Southern California, 76 degrees when the game started. Be sure to join us on the next episode of Backstage Dodgers. We'll follow Lakers first-round draft pick Julius Randle as he visits Dodger Stadium to throw out the first pitch. Don't miss this new episode of Backstage Dodgers. That'll be Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on Sportsnet LA. Fourth inning, no score. Pitching duel, Clayton Kershaw and Doug Fister. Fister, with 13 pitches in the third inning, has made 42. Clayton Kershaw has made 48 in his first three. Here we go in the fourth. Ian Desmond, first ball swinging, lifts it into right field. Matt Kemp settling underneath it. One away. So far, the big play, a leaping backhand catch by Hanley Ramirez to take a base hit away from Jason Worth. Cabrera was on first base, so that could have been trouble. Instead, Hanley made sure the inning was over. Bottom of the seventh inning in Colorado. Rockies 7, Giants 4. Here's Wilson Ramos, the catcher, single to right field in the second inning. Foul ball, 0-1. Ramos has become certainly one of Major League Baseball's top offensive catchers. He's also improved dramatically, catch and throw. Came into the game hitting a solid .280, now batting .283. 0-2. Washington came into last night's game. They had hit one home run in 12 straight road games. And last night they hit 4. So they've now hit a home run in 13 straight coming into this one. Just off the plate, 0-2, though the count goes 1-2. You wonder about Kershaw and home runs. He has allowed 8. Denard Span leading the pack last night with 2 home runs. Pop fly, Gordon calling. And we have 2 down here in the fourth inning. That'll bring up Bryce Harper. Popped up to short in the second inning. Harper made a nice running catch on a long fly ball hit by D. Gordon towards the fence in left center. With a very talented Mr. Harper checking in. He was the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. 0-1. Boy, what a quick bat he has. Last year, he was 20 years old. He became the youngest National League player to ever start an All-Star game. He is that talented. Strike one pitch. 0-2. Take another look at that pitch. Up there, down there. 0-2. Now do you get the fastball? Yep, but just to show it to him at 94. 1-2 the count. Harper missed 57 games. He had a bad thumb. Sliding, of course. Head first, of course. Had to have surgery, of course. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Check swing, strike 3, and that'll do it. So Harper strikes out. That would be the 3rd strikeout for Clayton Kershaw. Take another look. Gave him a lot of breaking balls, and Bryce comes up empty. So we have 3.5 innings in the books. No score. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. Bottom of the fourth inning, no score in the ball game, the kind of a game you would see in October during the playoffs. It is indeed push against shove. Washington and the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw and Doug Fister. Tomorrow, Carlos Frias just back up. He will start for the Dodgers against Jordan Zimmerman. Jordan Zimmerman will be bringing an 0-3 mark and an ERA over 5. Meanwhile, Matt Kemp flied to center in the first inning, hitting .281. Ball one. Matt, 17 home runs, 66 runs batted in. And a chopper foul. Lorenzo Bundy handles that. 1 ball and 1 strike to Matt Kemp. Then Carl Crawford and Juan Uribe. Matt Kemp last night, remember, 2 for 4 with a home run. Well, the Giants are trying to return the favor. Yesterday, the Giants blew a 7-2 lead. Tonight, the Rockies have blown a big lead, and the Giants have tied it up 7-7 in the 7th. Buster Posey, they just can't get him out. Doubled in 2 runs. Hunter Pence singled him home, and the game is tied 7-7. 3-1. And a drive to center. Harper going back, looking back over his shoulder. It's going to bounce over the center field fence, and we have a ground rule double. So Matt, a double. He is the second Dodger to get to second base. Jock Peterson reached second in the second inning. So Matt, attacking that pitch, hit it over Harper's head, and it bounced over the fence. So the ground rule double will now bring up Crawford, Uribe, and Peterson, trying to pick up Matt, who has 32 doubles. Whoops. No sooner did we tell you the score is tied. Gregor Blanco has jubbled in Hunter Pence. A little bunt up along first. The tag missed. The throw gets away. Here comes Kemp to the plate, and he is out at the plate. Well, that was a gamble with nobody out, and Matt Kemp trying to score from second. Tim Wallach is on the phone. That usually means they want to check as to whether it's worth a review. Wallach hangs up, turns, says no. That's really the way they should do it. The Dodgers, I think, have done that correctly. Here's the drag. The field looked like, yeah, he missed the tag. Then he bounced the throw. It went right through the legs of Franson. It was alertly backed up by Cabrera. Kemp trying to get in and was tagged on the knee of the leg that was bent. In other words, he never did get the foot on the plate until long after the tag. The bat was right on home plate. That's always dangerous. For Crawford, it's a bunt single. And then Kemp is out 4-2 from Cabrera to Ramos. So Uribe coming up, not with runners at first and third, but with 1 out and a runner at first. So a good heads up play. Throw to first. Franson holding the corner. Now with Crawford, you have a fellow who can steal. Stolen 21 out of 26. But remember that note about Fister. There's only been 1 attempted stolen base, and the league is 0 for 1. Ground ball to short for the force play. No throw to first. So Uribe taps to short. Matt Kemp thinking it over, and the batter will be Jock Peterson. Peterson, little fly ball single, dropped in the second inning. First career Major League base hit. From small acorns, large oak trees grow. No score, bottom of the fourth. And to repeat, Giants are now leading Colorado 8-7, seventh inning. Peterson, slow curveball for a strike. 0-1. Uribe, short lead, held on by Franzen. Peterson, a big rip in the count, 0-2. Meanwhile, Puig beating the drums, trying to cheer on young Jock. No balls, 2 strikes. Fister, virtually impossible to run on, apparently. 1 attempt, and they got him all year. Check swing, just did manage to hold back. 1-2 the count. Mark Repperger, the umpire on the third baseline, he was the plate umpire last night to ring up Peterson on that 3-2 breaking ball. So Yasiel watching, and the 1-2 pitch, Peterson takes inside. 2-2 the count. Fister coming back 2-2. Fastball inside. So Peterson went 3-2 last night. Got his base hit in the second inning tonight and comes right back deep in the count, 3-2. So with 2 down, Uribe will be going. Franzen directly behind him. Big swing and a miss on a slow breaking ball. So no runs, 2 hits. The Dodgers run into a big out at the plate, and at the end of 4, no score. The first 40,000 fans at Dodger Stadium this Saturday at 6:10. You'll receive your own pair of Dodger headphones, compliments of Lexus. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Easy to promote this game. It is a pitching duel. Clayton Kershaw and Doug Fister, 2 division-leading teams. Each team having won 77 going into the series last night, and Washington winning their 78th. For Matt Williams, his team really turned it around. At the end of June the 26th, Washington was 41-38. Not much to talk about. But starting on June the 27th, Matt Williams' team has gone 37-20. So here's Scott Hairston, then Kevin Frandsen, and the pitcher Pfister. Kershaw has made 57 pitches through 4. Pfister has made 56 through 4, so they are pretty much even. The only difference, Washington has 1 hit, singled by Ramos. The Dodgers have 4 hits, and they've had a man cut down at the plate. Fastball in there. 0-2 to Scott. He popped up in the second inning. Jason Worth has walked and robbed of a hit. A leaping catch by Hanley Ramirez. That's been the defensive play. Bouncing that. 1-2 the count. The pitch count with Clayton Kershaw. You look back at all of his starts. He's doing very well right now. His high, about 115 pitches. Slow change. Whoa. So Hairston way out in front of the changeup. That's 4 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. All that movement, and then he just pulls the string. 75 miles an hour. So that's 5 in a row since the walk. Kevin Frandsen grounded to third in the second inning. No score. Top of the 5th inning. And the fastball for a strike. Kevin, 1 home run, 14 runs batted in. Slow curveball in there. That's the pitch. I mean, once he starts throwing that off-speed curveball for strikes, it is really tough. Ground foul outside of third. Still 0-2. Bobby Henley coaching over at third. Local boy coaching over at first for Washington. Tony Tarasco went to Santa Monica High School. Broke in the bigs with the Atlanta Braves. Now the strike 2 pitch. Fastball just missed. Boy, he had him set up for that. 1-2 to Kevin Frandsen. Slow curveball and a high fly ball to left. Playable. Crawford. So that slow curve lifted to left. 2 down in the 5th inning.
Pitcher number 58,
Doug Pfister coming up. Despite the fact he gave Kershaw that big strike zone, he stands 6'8". He hacked away pretty well. Ball 1 with the low fastball. Used to be an old expression, you never change up on a pitcher. But every now and then you get a pretty good looking pitcher and you have to give him everything. Fastball for a strike. 1-1. The Dodgers hope that Kershaw will continue his great pitching, which he usually has in September. Foul ball. In Clayton's career, he is 14-5 in the month of September. In July, his career, he is 22-6. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Doug Pfister. There's that slow curve, but he missed inside with it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball, and Pfister fouls it back. So he might not be much of a hitter numerically. You know, he came in 0.79. But he's tough. He makes you work. So it's another at least 5-pitch at bat. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Matt Williams looking on. Fastball low. So Kershaw 3-2. Pfister given a bad time. And hit in the air down the left field line, slicing foul and out of play. So Pfister, no matter what Kershaw throws up there, seems to get a piece of it. Three and two. Fastball on the hand. Finally got rid of him. And he had to work on that. So Pfister hangs very tough. You know how many pitches to get him out? His 2 at-bats, 8 pitches each at-bat. And at the end of 4.5, no score. Pfister, and remember there's still another one going with Washington that will be tomorrow at 12:10, and that's Carlos Frias and Jordan Zimmerman. Thursday's an off day, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks come in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And for the Dodgers, hoping to continue their good work against Arizona and perhaps even pick up a little ground on the Giants. As far as Arizona is concerned, the Dodgers have beaten them 12 of 16. 8 out of 10 in Arizona, 4 out of 6 here. The Giants, meanwhile, continue to make noise. 10-7 Giants. Brandon Crawford tripled in the final run of the 7th inning, though the Giants lead by 3. A.J. Ellis with a strike, 0-1. And 2. As we said, Pfister does not throw hard, not big league hard. He's not going to throw 95, 90, and maybe once in a while 91. But sinkers and sliders, and he pitches hurry up. Strike 2 pitch. A little comebacker by the mound, but Desmond is on it. So 1 away. Now that'll bring up Clayton Kershaw, trying at least to return the favor. Pfister is really giving him fits. Pfister struck out in the 3rd inning, 8 pitches. Pfister struck out in the 5th inning, 8 pitches. So he's made Kershaw work harder at his at-bats than anybody else. So let's see what Clayton can do now. Ball one. One out. Bottom of the fifth. No score. Two and 0. Doug Fister, to repeat from Merced, went to Fresno State. Now he's behind Kershaw, 3-0. Waiting on deck, D. Gordon. Right, 3-1. Fister's last year with Detroit were 208 innings. He gets a strike, 3-2. And a one-hopper into center. So you talk about payback. Fister made Kershaw work so hard. And now Clayton singles with one out in the fifth inning. It looked like a cutter that didn't cut very much. For the Dodgers, their fifth hit. And here's D. Gordon. The painful numbers for D. Gordon. He is 0 for 20. Ball one. He has company, big company on the ball club. Yasiel Puig, in his last 10 games, has 2 hits in 32 at bats. And that's a strike. So remember, the Dodgers changed the lineup, and they had Gordon followed by Puig, and that certainly didn't work out. Uribe and Peterson taking in the action. 2-1. Fister runs a few days. He'll run several miles every day, so his stamina is very good. 2-1. Fastball hit up the middle, through. Down to second goes Clayton. He's going to try to go to third. Harper's throw to third is high, down to second, not in time. And the Dodgers have runners at second and third, and what a shot to Bryce Harper. Clayton Kershaw daring the young center fielder, and he went from first to third. Matt Williams now is going to come out and discuss that play at second involving Gordon. Though Harper somewhat in shock. They're on the phone to see whether they want to review it or not. Alfonso Marquez, the umpire at second. No, don't bother. So Matt comes back. So Gordon 0 for 20. Chops one up the middle for the base hit. The big surprise was Clayton Kershaw trying to go to third. A good throw would have gotten him. It was not only a poor throw, it allowed Gordon to get to second base. So the Dodgers have runners at second and third, one out, and the infield is up. What a big play for Clayton Kershaw. Hanley Ramirez grounded to first, grounded to short. A couple of ground balls. And ball one. With a runner at third, we'll check. Doug Fister has 5 wild pitches. And a one-hopper, short hop by Desmond. Runners have to hold. So Ramirez can't do it. He goes 0 for 3 on 3 ground balls. Now the batter is the RBI man, the butter and egg man, Adrian Gonzalez. So Hanley Ramirez unable to pick up a runner. First base open. They're going to pitch, of course, to Gonzalez. Matt Kemp on deck. No score in the 5th inning. And ball 1. Cutter in at the hands. So Kershaw, who singled up the middle, goes all the way to third on a base hit up the middle by Gordon, who takes second on the throw to third and embarrassed Bryce Harper. Off speed for a strike. 1-1. No runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for Washington. 1-2. We talked about Pfister and his earned run average. 2.1 at home, 2.9 on the road. So any way you cut it, he's tough. Two out, 2 on, no score, 5th inning. And pop foul, fastball in on the hands. So sinker, slider, cutter, 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and a change. He has made 75 pitches. Kershaw has made 74. Gordon and Kershaw wait. Finally, Pfister has slowed down. Finally. In fact, he wants to talk to Ramos. So Pfister and Ramos put their heads together. Adrian Gonzalez waiting at the plate. Second and third, 2 out, no score. Pfister, with runners in scoring position, has been great with 2 out. Little foul ball. The definition of great, well, with runners in scoring position and 2 out, the opposition is hitting 186. That translates 8-43. So Kershaw, who electrified the crowd, not to mention what he did to Bryce Harper by going from first to third. Gordon alertly went to second. 2 out, 1-2 to Gonzalez. Fastball hit to the hole, picked up by Desmond. Can't make a play, but he has a play and throws it away. So Gordon scores as well. Down to second base goes Gonzalez, and he's safe. And the Dodgers lead 2-0. Adrian Gonzalez hits one in the hole. And the Dodgers wind up with 2. Take another look. Slow roller. Rendon can't get it. On the grass is Desmond, and for the second time, the ball flies out of his hand. And then for good measure, he had a play on Gordon and threw it away. So he and Desmond having a bad time defensively, and the Dodgers now lead 2-0. Pfister tried to get Adrian Gonzalez, who barely hung on for dear life at second base. So here's Matt Kemp now trying to pick up Adrian Gonzalez. We're waiting on the scoring. It'll probably be a base hit and then a throwing error. So that's what it is. The single and the throwing error by Desmond, accounting for Gordon scoring from second base. Fouled away. You have to say the Dodgers, and certainly the crowd, inspired by Clayton Kershaw. He woke everybody up going from first to third. Here's the play with Desmond, unable to make it, and then throws it away on Gordon. Then they go after Gonzalez, who barely hangs on, and the inning is still alive. So it all started when Bryce Harper could not get Kershaw. That's smothered by Desmond, and this time he makes a play, and the inning is over. But it was Clayton Kershaw going from first to third on the base hit by Gordon that set it up. And for Bryce Harper, a poor throw to third, and the dam was wide open. The end of 5, 2-0 Dodgers. The Dodgers beat the Houston Astros 4-1. The highlight of the game was Eric Gagne coming up with his 47th save of the year. That gave Eric 55 consecutive saves, and would you believe it, he went on to set a record of 84 saves before finally giving one up. Quite a game, quite a pitcher, and we've got a dandy going here. Let's go back to it. Well, now the question is, does Clayton Kershaw have anything in the tank? He will be facing the top of the order, Rendon, Cabrera, and Worth. He has struck out 5, and he has walked 2. Fastball, strike. The Nationals have 1 hit, single to right by Wilson Ramos. Rendon twice has played pepper with Juan Uribe at third. Off speed for a strike. Doug Fister in that rough 5th inning made 23 pitches. Fastball just missed 1 and 2. Kershaw leading 2-0. 6th inning, trying to win his 17th. Fastball hit to Ramirez. 1 out here in the 6th inning.
Second baseman
Asdrubal Cabrera coming up. The hit by Ramos opened up the 2nd inning. Meanwhile, the Giants are leading the Rockies 10-7, and they're top of the 8th inning. Going into tonight's game, Washington had beaten the Dodgers 3 out of 4. And fouled away. Of course, there was a time going back to 2006 where Washington did not have such a formidable team, and the Dodgers wound up going 32-18 over the years, but not anymore. Solid ball club in every respect. A hopper to Uribe, who backs for the hop and throws him out. So Kershaw has retired 9 in a row. Jason Worth was the last out. And remember, he had that line drive and that leaping backhand stabbing catch by Hanley Ramirez. In the first inning, Jason walked. Two runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for Washington. Fastball for a strike. Big curveball. That's the pitch. 0-2. Worth had a big month of August. He hit .320. He hit .337 in July and .372 in May. Showing the fastball, that's all. Kershaw up against a tough customer. He knows Worth has 2 home runs against him. 1-2. Fastball. Jason Worth, player of the month in the last 2 Julys, last year and this. Another one. Fastball away. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. Breaking ball got him. That's the key. And the out at first. So that's 10 in a row retired by Clayton Kershaw. He has also struck out 6. And at the end of 5.5 innings, he gets applause from everybody. 2-0 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Subway. Get a great deal on this month's $6 foot-long special, the Italian BMT, or the $3 6-inch Select, the Sweet Onion Chicken Teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh. And by your Southern California Mazda dealers. 2-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 6th. First pitch a strike to Carl Crawford. He'll be followed by Juan Uribe and then Jock Peterson. 0-1. Little off speed. 0-2. Throws 89-90 and then slowed down. Just took 6 miles off it, and Crawford way out in front. Pulled foul. Still 0-2. Carl grounded out and singled in the 4th inning. Then there was that force play, and remember Matt Kemp tried to score and was cut down at the plate. From Cabrera to Ramos. Line drive, base hit into right field. So Crawford has singled to right. Juan Uribe coming up. For Clayton Kershaw, I think he could use a couple of base hits sometime to recover after his base running feats in the 5th inning. And then he went right back out, made only 12 pitches to retire the side, then went back into the clubhouse. So here's Uribe. Interesting test here. Only one base runner tried to steal against Fister all year. He was caught. You have a guy with 21 stolen bases in Crawford. And Uribe drives it to left and deep. Back goes Hairston, gone. And the Dodgers lead 4-0. That was a line drive home run by Juan Uribe. All Hairston could do is turn and watch it go into the seats. The bubble machine is active again. It's a runaway machine. And the victory dance for Uribe, his 7th home run, 41 runs batted in. One of, without a doubt, the most popular players on the club. Now all of a sudden he's going around telling people, shh, leave it to Uribe. Ball 1 to Jock Peterson. So 4 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, just 1 hit for Washington. A single, leadoff single, clean as a whistle, back in the 2nd inning by Wilson Ramos. So Uribe is back. And the Dodgers thrilled to have him. 3-0 the count to Jock Peterson. Peterson had the fly ball single, struck out. Right, 3-1. Ross Detweiler, left-hander, begins to warm up now in the Washington bullpen. And that's low. So Peterson draws a walk. Take another look at Uribe. Got a pitch right out over the plate. And it was a line drive. It just went out like it had been put out from a howitzer. Dodgers thrilled, Gordon and Puig especially. And the ball winds up about 2 rows back. And then there they are waiting for Poppy. And they hit him on the head and all the things they love to do with him. Miguel Rojas and Carl Crawford something to say. Steve McCaddy out to the mound now as A.J. Ellis will check in. So Fister gave up 2 runs in that wild 5th inning. When the Dodgers had 3 hits, Kershaw dared Bryce Harper and got away with it, going from 1st to 3rd. Harper made a high throw, so that meant they lost Gordon at 2nd. And then you had these strange doings on the slow roller in the hole at short. Desmond coming up, not able to make the play, then throwing wildly, and the Dodgers picked up 2. And now 2 more on a single by Crawford, home run by Uribe. Right, 1-1. Pfister has slowed it down considerably now. He's made 92 pitches. Peterson had 30 stolen bases, but that was Albuquerque, so he does not know the moves of any of the big league pitchers unless those who had played against him in Albuquerque in AAA. Sliced foul down the line, out of play. 1-2 the count. AJ had an infield single and grounded to short. Franson holding a corner on Peterson. Off the plate, 2-2. Pfister began the night by striking out D. Gordon. He had to wait till the 4th inning to strike out Peterson, and that's it. Two balls, 2 strikes. Foul ball off his foot, no play. Clayton Kershaw out on deck. When he goes to the mound in the 7th inning, he'll be facing Ian Desmond, Wilson Ramos, and Bryce Harper. AJ walking that off. 2-2 to count. Peterson quiet at first with Ellis at the plate. Fouled away again. Peterson's fastball is around 88. Occasionally he'll hit 90, but that's about it. Ellis might be talking to himself about that last pitch. I think he thinks it might have been ball 3. So the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes. 4 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Dodgers, no runs, 1 hit. The base hit against Kershaw occurred in the 2nd inning. Single to right by Wilson Ramos. Juan Uribe has just lightened the load with a 2-run home run. And that's driven into right field, base hit. Stopping at second is Peterson as Worth gets the ball back in. So it'll bring up Clayton Kershaw. Nobody out, and that's going to be enough. Here comes Matt Williams. He has the left-hander in the pen. And I think Pfister will be coming out. He's allowed 4 runs, 10 hits. He got hurt in the 5th inning and KO'd by Uribe in the 6th. And we'll be back. Bullpen, the left-hander trying to restore a little order. Detweiler 2-2. The big play so far in the game has not been a home run. It has been the base running trick turned in by Clayton Kershaw. That was when Kershaw was at first. Gordon bounced one up the middle in a scoreless deadlock, and Kershaw dared to go to third on Bryce Harper. Harper's hurried throw was high, and that only allowed Kershaw to get to third. Gordon got to second, and the Dodgers win from there. Gonzalez got a single, 2-0. Then Juan Uribe hits a 2-run home run, and that does it for Doug Depp. And Detweiler will pick up for Pfister. Detweiler out of St. Louis, Missouri. The bunt is on. The bunt is down. The play is to third, and the ball gets away at third. So everybody is safe, and the bases are loaded, and Washington having just one of those nights. Rendon can't make it, but Detweiler picks it up, throws it to Desmond, and Desmond just drops the ball. So he's had a bad night. Good bunt, and the Dodgers get away with it. So the Dodgers have the bases loaded, nobody out, leading 4-0, and D. Gordon the batter. It'll be a sacrifice fielder's choice. No error on that throw at third. Infield up, outfield split, and a little roller back to Detweiler. They will have the force play at the plate on Peterson. So that's the first out of the inning. So the bases remain loaded as Peterson is forced at the plate. Ellis now at third. So Hanley Ramirez grounded out in the first inning, grounded out in the third, came up with runners at second and third, and grounded out again in the fifth. Only now he's looking at a left-hander, Ross Detweiler. First ball swinging, 0-1. So Detweiler trying to restore order, and the Dodgers trying to break it wide open. Ross is 6'5", 180, 28 years old, went to Missouri State University. Oh, and 2 the count to Hanley. So in the inning, Crawford singled and Uribe homered. Then Peterson walked. Ellis got a single to right. Kershaw sacrifices, and a late throw to third loads the bases. Pfister is now a spectator, and Hanley up there 0-2 with 1 out. Fastball, 1-2. Detweiler, first round pick by the Nationals, came up to the big leagues to stay in 2010. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Two and two. When Detweiler was in college at Missouri State, he was a hospitality and restaurant administration major. Right this way. Two and two. Another foul ball. Hanley getting a lot of off-speed pitches. Been a long night for Clayton Kershaw on the base paths. There he is at second base. Ellis at third, Gordon at first, 1 out. Two and two. Fastball hit wide of third to second for 1, and Hanley hits into the double play to go 0 for 4 on 4 ground balls. However, Juan Uribe could not be stopped unless it was caught by a fan in the pavilion. Line drive home run with a man aboard. Dodgers scored twice, and at the end of 6, lead 4-0. .com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your smartphone or tablet. Get live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, stats, live radio broadcasts, the MLB TV game of the day, and more. Download at bat on the App Store or visit Dodgers.com/mobile today. Dodgers in high spirits right now. Clayton Kershaw leading the way with 200 strikeouts. He now has done that 5 straight years. I think it is no surprise that he is the first Dodger pitcher with at least 5 consecutive seasons of 200 or more strikeouts since Sandy Koufax did it 6 straight years from 1961 through 1966. Juan Uribe has helped the move with his home run in the 6th inning. And the Dodgers lead 4-0 into the 7th. However, remember, Washington's the club that had 4 home runs last night. He and Desmond, who's had a rough night with the glove, will lead it off. He has struck out and flied to right. 22 home runs. 0-1. Desmond from Sarasota, originally a 3rd-round pick by Montreal. Change on the outside corner. 0-2. Kershaw has a half a dozen strikeouts to reach the 200 mark. Trying to win his 17th. Foul ball. The Giant Rockies game, another slugfest. The Giants are leading 12-7, top of the 9th inning. Dodgers have 3 games to play in Colorado starting on the 15th. Set him up, and then the fastball is low. 1-2. Kershaw, 26 years old. Missing with the fastball again. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Ian Desmond. No surprise that Desmond has 22 home runs. He's hit 25, 20, and now 22. Two balls, 2 strikes. And down he goes. So Desmond strikes out a second time. 7 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. And as he does, and is wont to do, he is now on a roll. He's retired 11 in a row. And the batter is Wilson Ramos, who popped up in the 4th inning. Ramos hitting .282, takes a strike. Fastball at 93. How about that? 62-0, his career record when getting 4 or more runs of support. Ground ball to short. Hanley is there, looks at the ball. 2 down.
Coming to the plate, number 34.
So that's 12 in a row retired since the base hit by Ramos in the 2nd inning. And here's Bryce Harper. Harper popped up and struck out 0 for 2. Good-natured guy, and I'm sure he can give you chapter and verse on that high throw to third. And this time he answers with a bomb to deep right center and gone. So Bryce Harper takes care of the shutout. Little bit of revenge for Kershaw going to first to third on him. 4-1 Dodgers for Clayton Kershaw. That would be the 9th home run that he's allowed. And for Bryce Harper, that would be his 11th home run. He's only played 70 some odd games. So Harper drives one into the seats. 4-1. And the batter, Hairston, has Bryce back in the dugout talking to Jason Worth. 2 down. By the way, and there might be some who will remind me of this. Remember earlier we said we don't believe in a jinx, but the fact that Clayton Kershaw had not given up either an RBI or a home run to a left-hander this year. Well, it was last September. Jay Bruce hit one. Backhanded by Hanley. Long throw. Got him on a close play. Wow. Adrian Gonzalez not quite ready to get up. That was an all-out stretch. And D. Gordon trying to help him. Now let's see. Matt Williams, they're going to make the phone call. They want to look at that again. So we have 2 out, and we will see about Scotty Hairston. Matt looking back to get the answer. Do I? Don't I? And the answer is no, don't bother. So Hairston is out. Tough play. Good throw by Hanley. 1 run, 1 hit. The home run by Harper. And we're going to the bottom of the 7th. 4-1 Dodgers. Dodgers lead 4-1. Bottom of the 7th inning. Ross Detweiler ready to pitch to Adrian Gonzalez. And that's a strike. You know, you talk about a hitter being ice cold. Let's say Gordon 1 for 21 or Puig 2 for 32. How about when a hitter gets hot? That's going to be sliced down the left field line, foul. Buster Posey's last 12 games are truly remarkable. In tonight's game, Posey had 3 hits and 4 runs batted in. So in Posey's last 12 games, he has 6 home runs, 18 runs batted in. He has scored 16 runs. He has 26 hits. And Buster Posey, over those 12 games, is batting .481. Now that's hot. That is sizzling. Two and two to Adrian. Walk rounded out. Then had the infield single in the 5th inning. Kershaw scored from 3rd. Gordon scored from 2nd on the throwing error. And Gonzalez wound up at second base. 4 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 2 hits for Washington. Kershaw resting. He's made 97 pitches. The hardest he's worked as far as number of pitches in an inning. 19 back in the 3rd inning. The 6th inning he made only 12 pitches, and in the 7th 11. 2 and 2 to Adrian Gonzalez. Detweiler is due to bat second, so he figures he's going to go out for a pinch hitter in the 8th inning. So it's due to have Franson, then the hitter, and Rendon. And Gonzalez goes the other way. His second hit. He's 2 for 3 with a walk. Nice bit of hitting. 11 hits for the Dodgers. And Matt Kemp coming up. Kemp fly to center, doubled, grounded out. Kemp tried to score on an infield single and was thrown out at the plate. Maybe that inspired Kershaw the following inning to go 1st to 3rd on a base hit. Matt 1 for 3. That's a strike. 0-1. 4 runs, 11 hits. No errors for the Dodgers. 1 run, 2 hits. The home run by Bryce Harper got him on the board. Check swing. No swing. Ross Detweiler played for Team USA last year in the World Baseball Classic. Wound up saving the game, getting the ball, and that ball is in a place of honor in his home. 1-1. Fouled away. 1-2. Two and 2 the count. Detweiler, a 1st round pick, and of course 1st round money, that means a lot of money. So he's in a good place to be. 28 years old. Changeup hit to right field. Worth is there. And back to first goes Gonzalez. So 1 out here in the 7th inning. In the bullpen for Washington, Aaron Barrett begins to loosen up. He's a right-hander. There he is. Meanwhile, Carl Crawford coming up to the plate for the Dodgers. Crawford grounded out and singled twice. Ground ball to the hole. Back to get it is Desmond. They get one. They do not get two. So the inning is still alive for Juan Uribe.
Coming to the plate, number 5.
Crawford with fine speed. He covers that ground almost effortlessly. Desmond gets it to Cabrera, but Crawford's across the bag. Now with Detweiler the left-hander and Uribe the right-hander, Matt Williams is going to make a move, and it looks like he's going to go to the bullpen. So again, speed always hurts the opposition. Aaron Barrett, the right-hander, will be called in. Detweiler goes out, and we'll be right back. Jordan Zimmerman, 10-game winner, will be on the mound with an impressive ERA of less than 3. And Carlos Frias, who's been impressive in relief. The Dodgers will send him to the mound to try and get a W. And that will be the end of the 3-game series with Washington until perhaps when? Well, maybe in the postseason. Meanwhile, Aaron Abbott is from Evansville, Illinois. He's a big guy, 6'4", 215, out of the University of Mississippi. He was actually drafted by the Dodgers in 2006 in the 44th round, but the Dodgers didn't really pursue him heavily. Nothing really came about of it. He was going to be drafted by the Twins, but he opted out of that. Then he didn't sign with the Rangers, but eventually, 4 years ago, he signed with the Nationals, and then somehow, and it happens to pitchers, he suddenly couldn't throw a baseball from the pitching rubber to the catcher. Just could not do it. They could call it the Steve Blass syndrome. Right-hander with the Pirates. There goes Crawford. The pitch, a strike, and he steals it easily. So I don't know whether Barrett forgot about him or what, but Crawford got a big jump, steals it without a throw. He has now stolen 22. And Uribe up there, no balls, 1 strike. Fastball, tap foul. No balls and 2 strikes. So it's been Pfister, Detweiler, and now Barrett. And certainly you would expect them to hit for Barrett in the 8th inning. Yes, Steve Blass was a fine pitcher with the Pittsburgh Pirates years ago, and all of a sudden could not throw a strike if his life depended on it. And Uribe, big swing and a miss. So he's 1 for 4, a big 2-run home run. The batter is Jock Peterson. Come the Dodgers in the 8th, but right now we're heading to the top of the 8th. 4-1 favor the Dodgers. We take over the 8th inning, and Miguel Rojas will now go into shortstop for Hanley Ramirez. Rojas will bat in Ramirez's spot. Clayton Kershaw about ready to go to work. He's made 97 pitches. Kevin Frandsen, the first baseman, will be followed by Tyler Moore, another right-hand batter, and then Anthony Rendon. Kershaw has allowed 1 run, 2 hits, a single by Ramos in the 2nd inning, and a no doubt about it home run by Bryce Harper in the 7th. Frandsen has grounded to third, fly to left, 0 for 2. Four runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 2 hits for Washington. 0-1. Frandsen, who originally started his career, signed by the Giants out of San Jose. 32 years old. 0-2. Kershaw has 7 strikeouts, and he has walked 2. Coming up to 100 pitches. High pop fly. Kershaw down to direct traffic, and it's Uribe. So Clayton came off in a hurry to make sure there wouldn't be any collision with A.J. Ellis and Uribe. So now Tyler Moore coming up.
Your attention, please, for the Nationals. Pinch hitting, number 12, Tyler Moore.
Tyler Moore with 3 home runs and 11 runs batted in. Adam LaRoche has been bothered by a sore back. That's going to be fouled back out of play. Tyler's out of Brandon, Mississippi. He went to school at Mississippi State. 27 years old. Drafted out of high school and didn't sign. Drafted again in the 33rd round. And finally in 2008 he signed with Washington. He was their minor league player of the year 4 years ago. He even played in the New York League for Brooklyn. Just right. Scouts say that Moore's the type of a player that might strike out a lot, but they figure he would hit as many as 25-30 home runs playing regularly, but not going after that kind of a pitch. So that's 8 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. 2 out in the 8th. Rendon coming up.
Third baseman, number 6, Anthony Rendon.
Anthony Rendon has hit 3 ground balls, 2 to third, 1 to short. Hitting .279. A lot of power, 18 home runs, 73 RBIs. They say he smiles easily, and he was smiling at something maybe Ted Barrett said. Strike to Anthony. Very popular player. Good personality. Played his first major league game in April of last year. And promptly lifts one to left. Crawford going to have to play it on a bounce. So Rendon, little fly ball single that drops in. And the batter will be Cabrera, the second baseman. As Dribble, Cabrera popped up, walked, grounded out. As we told you, the highest number of pitches that Clayton has made in any one game this year, 115 against San Diego, July the 10th. The other one, 113 against San Francisco, the end of July. So they're backing him up with Kenley Jansen. That's just right. Kershaw now 107 pitches, but he does have 2 out. He has 6 complete games, but you would think maybe after running the bases, if he gets the 3rd out, this might be his last inning. Ground ball to short. Miguel Rojas to Gordon. Forced play. That's that. So for Clayton Kershaw, no runs, 1 hit. He walks off getting an ovation from the crowd with Jansen in the pen. That looks like his last inning of the game. Another magnificent effort by a magnificent pitcher, and it's 4-1 Dodgers. In 1938, Babe Ruth was the first base coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's right. Well, Tuesday, September 9th, the first 50,000 fans in attendance will take home a Dodger Babe Ruth bobblehead presented by Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Well, for Clayton Kershaw, getting hugs and handshakes and pats on the back, he is 3 outs away from his 17th victory. He will be 15-2 since that one bad game, that one blot on his escutcheon when the Diamondbacks scored 7 in less than 2 innings. But otherwise, he's been almost unreal. Kershaw made 108 pitches. The big key always, and the first commandment for a pitcher, get the first pitch for a strike. Well, 24 of 29 first pitch strikes. Jock Peterson is going to start it off against Xavier Cedeno. Peterson singled, struck out, and walked. Cedeno from Puerto Rico, but lives in Miami. And a little roller to the right side. Cabrera gets him, and we have 1 out, bottom of the 8th inning. The batter will be A.J. Ellis. Single, grounded out, singled again, 2 for 3. Cedeno at Syracuse for about the last year and a half. Originally signed by the Rockies 10 years ago. Never made it to the Rockies, but he did make it to the Houston Astros, and then coming over here. He was released by the Rockies. No one called him. That was 4 years ago. So Xavier went back to Puerto Rico and then signed back up with Houston. And then he was claimed off waivers from the Astros. So here he is. Curveball, fastball, and a change. He's 6'1", 170. 28 years old. Dodgers have Justin Turner coming out on deck as A.J. fouls it away. The paid attendance tonight, as Turner loosens up, 43,352. 43,352. Ball 1. So the Dodgers are getting very close to 3,200,000. They'll get to that mark tomorrow. And tomorrow, remember, a 12-10 game. Carlos Frias for the Dodgers, Jordan Zimmerman for Washington. High fly ball to right center. Harper has that on his radar screen. Though Ellis a long out to right center, 2 down. And the batter will be Turner, hitting for Kershaw. So Justin, who did a tremendous job in the absence of Uribe.
Attention, please, for the Dodgers.
Coming up, hitting .324.
Justin Turner.
And Kershaw now has a chance to relax. 8 tremendous innings against a very, very tough ball club. As a pinch hitter, Turner hitting .391, facing Xavier Cedeno. Fastball, ball 1. The Giants defeated the Rockies. It's all over. Giants 12, Rockies 7. They have a 12-10 game tomorrow. Ryan Vergelsong versus Christian Bergman. Bergman's from Glendale. That's a strike. 1-1. Four to 1 Dodgers. In the 9th inning, it'll be Worth, Desmond, and Ramos for Washington. Fouled away, 1-2 to count. Juan Uribe, the veteran, Jock Peterson, the kid. Jock Peterson's father, his name is Stu. He was drafted by the Dodgers. That was back in 1981. They brought him up in September. He made his debut in the 14th inning of a game the Dodgers lost 4-3 to the Mets. He grounded out. Jock's dad, Stu, would appear in 8 games in '85. The only 8 games of his career. 2-2. Foul back. For Jock Peterson's dad, Stu, 8 games in the big leagues, but over 1,291 games in the minor league. His dad hit .290 in his minor league career. So he is a chip off the old block. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And flared to right, but coming up for it is Worth. Might have lost that in the lights a little bit, but he still made the play. So the 8th inning is in the books. That means Kenley Jansen will be coming in to pitch the 9th, and the Dodgers lead 4-1 while saying goodnight to Clayton Kershaw. Has also arrived on the mound with the Dodgers 4 runs, 11 hits. The Nationals 1 run, 3 hits, and 1 error. It'll be the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up. The Worth, Desmond, and Ramos facing Kenley Jansen. Dodgers will try to keep pace, win this game. Giants 1, and the lead would remain at 2. For Kenley Jansen, last time he pitched was last Wednesday, and he'll be facing Jason Worth to start it off. Jason Worth 0 for 3 in the past against Kenley Jansen. Adam LaRoche 1 for 3. That's about it. Desmond on deck 0 for 4. And a strike. Worth walked in the first inning. Was robbed of a hit on a leaping one-hand catch by Hanley Ramirez, and then struck out in the 6th inning. When he struck out, he became the 200th strikeout for Kershaw, 5th straight year. Worth is one of the men who hit Kershaw hard in the past. good .250. Been with the Dodgers since 2011. Fastball a little low. Boy, fastball at 96. That's that old joke where the hitter says to the umpire, didn't that sound low? Desmond waiting on deck. So Mattingly 3 outs away from a big win to maintain a 2-game lead over the Giants, who won in Colorado. Fastball, big chopper to Rojas. Throws a sinker. Wow. Miguel Rojas, some of the better shortstops, and he is a good shortstop, but most of them remain on the beam. They throw overhand right over the top. He has a tendency to drop the arm and sidearm it, and he throws sinkers. So he will draw an error on what should have been a very easy out. So Worth is aboard, and the batter is Ian Desmond. Desmond struck out twice, flied to right, 0 for 3. Jason Worth is a big man who also steals bases. I don't know whether he's going to try to steal down by 3 in the 9th, but Worth is 9 for 9 in stealing bases. That's right. Ian Desmond had what we could call a shaky night with the glove. 22 home runs, so you have to be very careful with him. 0-2. On the subject of home runs, Kenley Jansen has allowed 4 this year. And he's working his way up the ladder. 1 behind left-hander Ron Perinoski. Wow. And Desmond completes one of those nights. He's angry at himself. Strikes out 3 times. Goes 0 for 4. But instead of 2 outs, there's only 1 out. And Wilson Ramos coming up. Wilson Ramos came into the game hitting .280. He's picked up 1 point with 9 home runs, 38 runs batted in. He had the first hit against Clayton, a single leading off the 2nd inning. And there wasn't another hit until the home run by Harper. Foul ball. 0-1. Ramos has only been in 71 games. So here it is September, and he should be well rested. 0-1. 0-2. Ramos is the fella who was really clever as a kid. He grew up in Venezuela. We mentioned the story last night. Down he goes. He found a horse when he was a little kid wandering the streets. So he collected money from neighborhood children to get a ride on the horse. And then he'd go out and catch tropical birds in a homemade trap and sell them to a local pet store. And that's when he was a little guy. So Ramos, very clever, but strikes out for the 2nd out. Inning should be over. Instead, here is Bryce Harper. Popped up, struck out, and then made a mark. The first left-hand batter to hit a home run and or RBI. And of course he did both when he homered in the 7th inning. There running goes Worth. 0-1. Four runs, 11 hits, and 1 error for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Nationals. Nate Schierholtz out on deck if given a shot to bat for Scott Hairston. The runner goes again, and again a strike. 0-2. So Jason Worth now at second base. No stolen base. Defensive indifference. And the 43,352 trying to root Jansen and company across the line. Foul back. Harper ran down a couple of long fly balls. He hit a home run, but one of the big plays of the night. The Dodgers had Clayton Kershaw at first. D. Gordon singled up the middle, and to the surprise of everyone, Kershaw took third. Harper's surprise throw was high off the mark. Clayton made it to third, and because of that throw being offline, Gordon made it to second, and the Dodgers had the big inning. So all Kenley Jansen does is come in and strike out the side. 1, 2, 3. There was an error and a man left. 4 runs, 11 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Nationals. Kershaw made 108 pitches. Kenley made 15. And the Dodgers now have won 2 of 5 with the final meeting with Washington tomorrow at 12:10. The player of the game would have to be Clayton Kershaw. The instrumental play of all, going from first to third, that just lifted up the ball club as he made it on the poor throw. Gordon went to second. The Dodgers wound up scoring twice, and then Uribe hit a 2-run home run. Kershaw, 108 pitches, struck out 8 and called it a night. He's now 17-3, 7-2 in his career against Washington, and 2-0 this year. So that'll do it for tonight. Tomorrow, 12:10, it'll be Frias and Zimmerman. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.